airing live on YouTube. You can like, share, and subscribe. It's Empire State of Baseball on YouTube. For post-game recaps, our Mets Minute, our River Ave Rewind, we post after important Mets and Yankees games. We've been slacking lately because we've been enjoying the summer and the teams have been frustrated, but we're going to get back on that this week, big time. And then we have all the episodes, segments, and other things to enjoy. Corey works up some special meme posts. We actually got one that broke 5,000 thanks to Mr. Corey's creativity. So you can follow us and watch all of our content on there.
Venture into the baseball mind, the Corey Favaloro, and you'll find yourself on quite the journey. If you go to Instagram and YouTube, you'll definitely find it there. Corey does a great job with those reels. The Empire Express, however, makes its return. We're going to get into it briefly. Yankees-Mets do battle starting tomorrow for the second set of the Subway Series at Yankee Stadium. And obviously, we could get into everything going into the previous weekend with the Mets and losing 2 to the Red Sox, Yankees taking 3 straight against Kansas City. And Thomas, as good as it feels to finally see the Yankees sweep a series for the first time since late May, do you feel any differently than you did last week about this team? Or
Rich, we're back, buddy. We're back. Yankees to the World Series. World Series. 5.
AC.
I want Ohtani. I want Soto. I want Belly. I want bring Scherzer's old ass over. Let's go. Let's go. Let's ride.
I love it.
Let's get us to the World Series. We're back. The Royals are listen, the Royals have a bad record, maybe, but they have more fight than what you would think. Some might call them the Burge Jr. Some might say that. I want it. But yeah, the Yankees are back. They just swept the Royals. Going to smack the Mets this week, and we're going.
Yeah, we're going, man. We're going all the way to selling next week. I don't know. It's a tough call. And kind of back to when we were talking to Pat about, I don't know how to tackle this with the Yankees. For me, I asked a question on Twitter. What record do the Yankees need to amass to establish themselves as buyers ahead of the trade deadline? And at that rate, I think they had about 8 games left. Honestly, I hate to sound crass. They need to go perfect for me to be convinced that they deserve to be buyers at the trade deadline.
That's not.
They have to be.
Yeah, I mean, you can think that, but you know it's not going to be the case.
Because they need to put themselves in better ground, Tom, for them to try to make deals at the deadline that's going to benefit them.
Listen, if
they're
the Yankees,
retool at best.
Unless the Yankees, I'm telling you, I'm not saying like my opinion of what I think they should do. I think just the reality is, unless they just get blown out and they win 1 game this week, they're gonna be at least somewhat of buyers at the deadline. They're gonna still be in it. They're still they're 2 games back on the 3rd wild card. I think they're gonna buy. Now, is that the best thing for the Yankees and moving forward? And do I really think the Yankees are going to the World Series? No, but that's not the way they operate. I just don't see a world where they're just gonna sell off. I know there was a story I think last week how. I think Hal wanted to get himself under the 1 luxury tax threshold, which is like shedding like $1.5 million worth of payroll, which wouldn't be that hard. But yeah, I don't think they need to go perfect to do that. I think a 500 week, they're going to be involved with something.
See, I think it comes down to Aaron Judge, and if the Yankees buy the trade deadline,
they know what Aaron Judge is. They're just not saying.
No, but I think it's the timeline of when he comes back. If they are uncertain, because all he's doing right now is taking batting practice in a simulated game. That's a long way from playing 9 innings in the field and running the bases. So
I don't think they're uncertain. I think they know. They're just not saying it. It's not like they're like, we have no idea.
Here's the bottom line. The Yankees are not buying if they don't have confidence that Aaron Judge is going to be back within a week or so of the trade deadline. If they do not think he's going to be back in full capacity, they're not going to buy. They might not sell, but they're not going to buy because there's nothing to buy to if you don't have Judge back.
There's no
way to improve this team to the point where they can contend unless they know Judge is coming back on X date.
I agree with that, but I think they haven't made it public, but they have it somewhere circled, target, rehab, start here.
That's going to set the tone. Where if Judge is back, if let's say Judge comes back within a day or 2 of the trade deadline, I think
he won't be back by then
because the team is fixable. If you go out and get a Bellinger and pair him in the middle of the lineup with Judge, that this team's fixable. If Judge isn't going to be back until the end of August, you don't know where you're going to be, even though you're only 2 games back of the wild card. I don't have confidence as a general manager of giving up prospect capital when I might not be in a position to contend when Judge gets back.
And if you want to look at this series coming up too with the Mets and the Yankees, because the Yankees do have a decent shot at ending this week in that third wild card. You look at the matchups. You have the Mets versus the Yankees. All right. If you can't beat the Mets right now, then you don't deserve to be in the playoffs. I'm sorry. It's as simple as that. Mets are on life support, as we were just discussing with Pat McCarthy. Yankees aren't in great shape. They're in the hospital too, but they're not in the ICU. They're just in a regular room. So then you look at the teams right ahead of them. All right, you got the Blue Jays, you got the Red Sox, all these teams right there. Blue Jays are playing the Dodgers. Red Sox are playing probably the best team in baseball in the Atlanta Braves. Those 2 teams very well could get swept or lose their series. You take these 2 from the Mets, as you should. Again, you should not lose to the Mets if you have playoff aspirations right now as a ball club. So the Yankees could find themselves in a good position come next week with the trading deadline that they are there in the third wild card spot. Now, we could have the whole debate. Should they go all in? Are they going to try to buy? Are they going to bring in rentals? We could make a whole debate whether they should, whether they shouldn't. I know we'll have a whole trade deadline episode again next week as well. But right now, the Yankees are in decent position, and I'd much rather their spot than the Mets. And this is a great week to really try to cement your playoff hopes right now. Because if the Yankees do come out, and if they get swept by the Mets, I mean, we said the Mets have to basically be perfect this next week to even consider making a trade. If you're the Yankees and you get swept by the Mets, then forget about sell everybody, board it up, fire the team. It's over.
I think you can't look at it exactly that way. I think you have to look at it how many games back you are at the deadline. I don't think because like you said, if the Red Sox and like the Astros and teams ahead of them have a horrible week and the Yankees just kind of like tread water and it's still 2 games, it's still 3 games by the deadline, they're going to buy. Now, if for some reason it goes the other way and the Yankees are 5 or 6 back, then yeah, I agree. I just don't think that's going to be the case. I think they'll be in it enough and they're going to convince themselves that they could make a run. Now, the interesting part of it is that that threshold, the tax threshold, and do they try to kind of do that buy and sell, or they shed some payroll, bring in some guys, but any guy that's going to have impact's going to bring along money as well. So I don't know how that would even work. I don't know. It's going to be.
I just don't see it. I just don't see it. Essentially, again, they have to put on such a run, and in the middle of
they don't have to put on.
And next Tuesday, you're also playing the Baltimore Orioles, which is it's a huge series for them. And it's crazy with everything. But the Yankees, you're still within 8.5 games of the division that I still think is lost. But it's crazy that they can still be in play depending on how this week goes. So this is a very
they don't have to exactly at this point. The division is out, and again, I don't think this is some great team that's going to go on a great playoff run. But they're 2 games back of the wild card right now. I feel like. I mean, you guys are talking about it like they're 10 game back of the wild card, and like they're not. They are right there. Now they're not a great team.
But I think they're set up
and
enough
they're not
to make moves at the deadline. If they're buy moves, they're going to be set up for a team that's going to get knocked out in the first round at best.
Yeah, probably.
That's how I'm looking
they're not like they're. I don't think they look at it that way. I think if they look at it that they want to continue the almost 30-year streak of having winning seasons. They want to be in the playoffs again. They'll be happy to some extent with that, and that's how they're looking at it. I don't think they're just looking at it as this is a lost season yet. You hear it enough when you hear interviews with Boone and interviews with other people on the team, and they might be wrong and they're thinking too highly of this team, but that's where they are.
It's not a lost season because lost season indicates you're a seller at the deadline. The Yankees are by no stretch of the imagination selling at the deadline. The question is whether or not you're buying and sacrificing prospect capital. At this particular moment, if you do not have a date on Judge, I don't think you're buying until that point in time, or you go on a streak where you rattle off 5 wins in a row leading into the deadline, where you're now in control of your own destiny. Right now, the Yankees are not in control of their own destiny, and they are without their best player. That makes them, at this particular moment, holders. I don't know if they would become buyers unless Judge comes back and they felt confident that he was going to be 100% healthy right away.
And we'll see what happens. Like we said, this is a big week for the Yankees, a great opportunity to gain some ground in this wild card between the series they have this week and the series their opponents have this week. So we'll see what happens. But again, we got a 2-game Subway Series set. Mets, Yankees. I could tell you who I think is going to win. I think it's going to be a split. I'm going to go with the boring 1-1 bold prediction from the Yankee side of the house. Again, this, to Tom's point before, you're treading water. And I think this Yankee team does continue to tread some water throughout this week. I do think they end up winning that Orioles series, but again, they're not going to sweep this week. They're not going to sweep the series. I don't think it's going to be 1-1. And from a Mets standpoint, that's unacceptable too, because you have to go near perfect. The series itself is more important, I believe, to the Mets, just because this is it. This is your last chance to make a run. You have to go near perfect this week to even have a shot. So it's more important technically for the Mets, but from a Yankee standpoint, it's important because you have a real chance to gain ground this week.
It's a tough call. I'm going to root for them. I'm a fan of the team, obviously. I'm not going to root for them to go 0 for the century and then sell at the trade deadline. I'm just having a hard time believing in how good this team could be post August 1st. All righty. Well, now we're going to get to the fantasy hockey